Welcome to J is for Justice podcast. If live breaking news and following true crime is your thing, then please consider subscribing to my channel. And if you like what you see in my videos, please consider giving them a thumbs up. Good morning, everyone. It is Thursday, June 6th. Good morning and welcome back to J is for Justice. Make sure you've hit that like button. If you're new here, my name is Jay and I am your host. We are waiting for the Gilgo Beach murderer, aka Lisk, aka Rex Heuermann, press conference. 2 more murder charges, 2 more people, 2 more sex workers. Accountability. So that is set to begin here in about 4 minutes. So while we wait, I'm going to come and say hi to y'all in chat. Damien, it's good to see you. I hope you're doing well, Damien. Sirius, good morning. I'm still trying to get my mic thing. I need a longer cord, I think. Anyways, I'm still trying to get my shit straight here. Bear with me. The Finn, good to see you. Kendi, Diana, Jess are all here to moderate this morning. Thank you guys for being here. Hoot, good to see ya. Scott Briggs, it's always good to see you, my man. And Monkey Biz, thank you for the congrats on the 100K. Good to see you, Monkey Biz. Miss Robin is also here. She says the last search, they put a box with a blue covering into a truck or van. It had to be remains. She thinks that Asa is the star witness. Do y'all think Asa's the star witness? Hey, Frenchie. Good morning. I hope you guys have your coffee or whatever it is you drink in the morning. I know our Shell drinks Mountain Spew. Ew. Diana, I hope you're feeling better today. Our Diana is recovering. So yeah, we are tuned in to, this is News 12, Long Island. Honey Bun is having back pain today. Sending lots of good vibes to you for that pain to subside. Ugh, that's the worst. Back pain is the worst. Between back and knee pain, I don't know what's worse. Good morning, Mr. Sanchez. Good to see you, Myron. Long time no see. Nikki Nax, good to see you too. So we're waiting on News 12, Long Island, New York, for the latest in the Rex Heuermann case. I saw this morning they did name the 2 sex workers that they believe this is going to be for. Congratulations to Mr. Liam on his preschool graduation. Exciting times there at the Jess N house. Congratulations to your little guy. Yes, I have lower lumbar pain issues too. Like right in my hip, I get like a I don't know what you call it. Not a lodge disc, but like a, what do you call it when it's off? I can't think of the word, but it hurts like hell. And I deal with it all the time. The chiropractor does help. Hang on, I'm going to try to get those names. They said it. I think it was on Law and Crime, actually. We should be starting here in a minute. If they don't start playing it, I'm going to freak out because this DA, for some reason, only does his press conferences on Instagram. It's so weird to me. Why would he choose Instagram as a place to stream a press conference? Doesn't make any sense. Good morning, Cheryl. I hope you're doing good. So it's 10:58 on their clock, so we got about 2 minutes. So the two, he was charged with second-degree murder in the deaths of Jessica Taylor and Sandra Castilla. So the two women were Jessica Taylor and Sandra Castilla. The 20-year-old Taylor disappeared in July of 2003 while working as an escort in New York City, and her remains were found in 2 grisly incidents that year and in 2011. A dog walker in 2003 found Taylor's body, which had been mutilated with her head removed and arms severed below the elbows. A tattoo of hers was also, trigger warning, this is awful. I had no idea he dismembered. Oh my God. A tattoo of hers was also mutilated and were acts perpetrated by Rex Heuermann to inhibit the identification of the victim via facial recognition, fingerprints, and or tattoo ID. Miss Taylor's skull, hands, and forearm were discovered along Ocean Parkway, just east of Gilgo Beach, on March 29th, 2011. Today, Rex Heuermann wore a suit and tie with his hands handcuffed behind his back. He has a next court date for July 30th. So hopefully this ish begins soon, because I don't know. If it doesn't start after this commercial, I'm going to try to get it on YouTube, but it said it was going to be on here. God knows how many more victims this freaking monster has, right? Good Lord Almighty. Like one person, it's just sick.
God Almighty.
Hey, Makita, good to see you, girl. Hey, Jazz. Hey, Rebecca. Okay, here we go, guys. Let me mute that till they start, because they'll strike you on their little jingles.
Largo Beach serial killer Rex Heuermann will be in front of a Suffolk County judge once again.
And multiple sources are now confirming to us that he will be charged in the death of 2 additional victims after recent searches related to the investigation.
Bringing that total to 6. Our Caroline Flynn is in Riverhead ahead of that scheduled court appearance today. Caroline, what can you tell us?
For dump sites, and under that list, he had listed Mill Road. Now remember, Mill Road is that area of Manorville where police first found the partial remains of Jessica Taylor and Valerie Mack. Police say it's this document that prompted them to search that area in Manorville back in April. Now that did not yield any additional remains, so they believe this document was created in preparation for these murders. They say that their forensic analysis found the document was created back in 2000 and was edited between 2001 and 2002. On this document, police also say he listed body prep. Under that list, he said remove head and hands, remove ID marks such as tattoos, and police say that is consistent with how the remains of Mack and Taylor were initially found in 2000 and 2003. According to these court documents, Rex Heuermann also listed dispose of the following, such as tools and devices, wipes and towels, props and toys and other items. They say he laid this all out, and they believe this is what he created, again, to plan out his kills of these women allegedly and to allegedly avoid ways of getting caught. He also had a list on this document titled Things to Remember, such as hitting too many times is not enough, hit harder to take them down, get sleep before the hunt, too tired created problems. I'm reading straight from the court documents that we received from the prosecution's office earlier today. Again, they believe this document was created in 2000 and was edited around 2001 and 2002. We have been poring over these documents, Rich and Aaron, and we will continue to break down what exactly police say lays out of how Rex Heuermann allegedly committed these crimes and tried to cover them up.
Just bombshell information that we are seeing from those documents.
Thank you so much, Makita.
Again, we are awaiting a press conference from the district attorney who is expected to outline a lot of what Rachel is going through, pouring through those documents. It's a lot of information.
That's right. It's a lot of information. We also have a pair of guests with us right now who can help to break down these new charges as well.
Okay, hold on. We're going to listen to this guy, but it's probably in those big black terabytes, right? Let's listen what these guys have to say.
Mark, I want to start with you. Your reaction to what you're hearing from the courtroom today.
Well, the information is shocking, to say the least. I mean, we have
That's them, not me.
more bodies potentially connected to this, because serial killers, once they start, they don't generally stop until they're caught, and it's a much larger time frame now.
Mark or Michael, if you want to jump in, we have retired detective and John Jay criminal justice professor Michael Alcazar with us now. What Rachel just read, the documents, it seems very premeditated. He is now being charged with second-degree murder. Can you answer why there's a question of whether it could be second or first in these situations?
I'd let Mark answer that. He's the lawyer. But when I read the affidavit and I saw this guy's talking about how he prepared, when I was an undercover, we would do tactical plans. Rex had a murder tact plan. He prepared for it. It's definitely premeditated. He was even listing like small is good, meaning he identified the victims that he wanted to target.
Oh my God.
Like Mark said, now this is going back over 30 years. This could uncover more homicides to link to Rex. So very telling information. They recovered DNA. They recovered digital evidence. Good job on the Suffolk District Attorney's Office and the Suffolk County Police.
Mark, do you want to jump in
Excellent.
about why this may be a second-degree charge instead of a first-degree charge?
Well, so the first-degree charge is more significant than the second-degree charge, actually. And I think the first-degree charge is connected to the dismemberment of the bodies as well. Obviously, there was significant premeditation and pre-planning here. The document that the district attorney released today demonstrates that very clearly. They're releasing information in the way that the federal court, the U.S. Attorney's Office generally does by giving this kind of information. You can see Tierney's background as a U.S. attorney and how he prepared this bail application petition, because it's giving significant detail about the DNA analysis, the collection of DNA, and other evidence that's obviously being used against Rex Heuermann.
And Michael, these latest charges now come just a week or so after police investigators wrapped up their second search of Rex Heuermann's home in Massapequa Park. You were on with us at that time, reacting as that search was taking place. What do you think of the timeline here in terms of how this investigation has expanded?
They did a pretty good turnaround, meaning when they were searching Manorville, they knew what they were looking for. And as we suspected that it would be linked to other homicides, and now we see that it is. So good information that they received. They acted on it.
So dismemberment is not enough for first-degree murder? Cutting off her, her head, hands, and forearm? And then dismembering her tattoo? Oh my God, where did he do that? Where did he do the dismemberment, you guys? How could no one know? A time span of 30 years. I'm shook. I am shook. Where would he have cut off her head? I mean, how? Oh, in that basement. And they said there was rooms within rooms within rooms. And Sherry, thank you for being a member for 3 months. Love you too. Also, thank you again to Makita, and it's good to see you. We've missed you as well. Oh, man. How could his wife not know? But in these new court documents, there was something about his daughter, like one of the murders, his daughter was actually in kindergarten. Kindergarten. It's unbelievable. Oh, shit. Here we are. Fuck. Sorry.
These allegations have got to be proven in court, and we certainly look forward to doing just that. Today, as you've just seen, the District Attorney's Office filed a superseding indictment charging the defendant with 2 additional murders. Those charges pertain to the 1993 murder of Sandra Castilla and the 2003 murder of Jessica Taylor. So that's in addition to the previously charged murders of Maureen Brainerd Barnes, Melissa Barthelemy, Megan Waterman, and Amber Costello, which occurred in 1997, 1999, June of 2010, and September of 2010, respectively. So my intention now, here today is to discuss those charges, discuss the contents of the bail letter, and then turn it all over to you all for questions.
Yes.
But before I do that, before I discuss the indictment and the developments in the case, I want to thank our law enforcement partners, many of whom are here today. First and foremost, I want to thank the Suffolk County Police Department. My understanding is Commissioner Waring was unavailable today. I spoke with Rob, but he certainly brought a contingent of Suffolk County PD to represent his office. We have Deputy Police Commissioner Kevin Catalina. We have Chief of Detectives Daryl Simmons. We have Deputy Chief Stan Grodsky. And then we have the Commanding Officer of the Major Crimes Unit, which includes the Homicide Unit, Sean Barron. So we want to thank all of them for their partnership. We want to thank the Homicide Unit for their continued efforts in this case. We have the Suffolk County Sheriff's Office here. Again, spoke with Sheriff Toulon. He's traveling out of state, so he couldn't make it. But it's my understanding that Under Sheriffs Steve Kios and Keith Taylor are here. We certainly want to thank them for their assistance as well. With the New York State Police, we have Major Stephen Udis, as well as Lieutenant Ken Gine. Again, we thank them not only for their presence here today, but more importantly, for their partnership in this case. We have the FBI. Supervising Special Agent Don Ansbacher is here.
Welcome.
I want to thank the FBI for their continued assistance in this case. And then I don't believe they're present, but we want to thank the United States Secret Service for their assistance in this case. We want to thank the Suffolk County Crime Lab. I know they're not here, but their work has been tireless and instrumental, and we are really very appreciative to them. I especially want to thank the K-9 units from the New York State Police, from the Suffolk County Police, and from the NYPD, who came out a couple of weeks ago, and in very difficult conditions. They really did a fabulous job helping us to search an area of interest to us, and they went above and beyond. So again, I want to thank them. I frequently neglect to thank my own team, so I'm going to take the opportunity to thank them. We have, Chief Zacharis. We have, I want to thank them. I want to thank our ADAs, many of whom are working on this case. You heard from Nick Santamartino. We've got Larry Opizzo. We got Andrew Lee. We got Michelle Haddad. We've got a whole host of ADAs.
All right, we appreciate them. Now
that
give
have
us
really
the
been
deets.
instrumental in us. Our investigators,
Right.
our analysts,
us
really
the
fantastic work that they've done.
Great
I want to
job.
thank the victims' families, many of whom are here today, not only on the new charges, but for the original Gilgo 4. And this is what this case is about. We don't ever forget that. This case is about the victims and their families, and hopefully providing them with that small measure of closure. And the families have been nothing short of incredible. The way that they continue to support their loved ones and each other is really inspiring to us and really helps us to keep coming in and working this case as aggressively as
Really,
we've been
Myron?
doing. This case is a true collaboration, and again, mentioning all of those partners, without the contribution of any one of those partners, our ability to do this case would have been severely compromised. So again, I know I mentioned a lot of names. I know I went through a lot of agencies, but I just don't do that because it's the polite thing to do. I do it because it's the right thing to do, because they've really helped us instrumentally and will continue to help us going forward. Now, I'll just, before I get into the individual murders, the two new charges, what I want to talk about is at the time of the initial arraignment of three out of the four Gilgo 4, and then at the superseding arraignment on the charges pertaining to Maureen Brainerd Barnes, and the Gilgo 4 was completed. At that time, we said that we were going to continue to investigate this case, that the grand jury with regard to the Gilgo 4 is over, but the case continues. The criminal prosecution continues, but the investigation continues, and that investigation has been expanded. The investigation has been expanded both to the bodies that were found on Gilgo and beyond. That's what we said. And I think that has come to fruition today with these two new cases or new charges. First off, with regard to Jessica Taylor, that her body was recovered on July 26 in 2003 off of just west of Halsey Manor Road in Manorville. She was found on her back. She was decapitated, and her hands and arms were severed just below the elbows. Notably, a tattoo that she had been obliterated with a sharp object. 8 years later, her arms and skull were found on Ocean Parkway. Those remains were found on the same side of the road on the Ocean Parkway as the Gilgo 4. They were found less than a mile away from the remains of the Gilgo 4, and all of the 5 remains were located within 50 feet of the roadway. And I think you see that the graphic on page 5 of our bail document illustrates that. Jessica Taylor was last seen on July 19th in New York City. She was working as a sex worker. We know from from our investigation, from a number of financial records and other records, that the defendant, Rex Heuermann, was in New York City on July 19th. Jessica Taylor last spoke to her mom on July 21st, and then that was about 8:41 p.m. Then less than 2 hours later, her phone call made its last outgoing call, and we heard no more from Jessica or from her phone. The family alerted law enforcement on July 25th when she failed to return to her home for her mom's birthday. And then shortly thereafter, on July 26th, Jessica's body was recovered. At that time, the Suffolk County PD did canvass, and they spoke to witnesses, and the witnesses had observed the night before, about 13 hours prior to the 911 call, they saw a dark-colored pickup truck backed up in the vicinity of off of Halsey Manor Road, where Jessica's body was eventually recovered. Computer activity by the defendant, which we were able to access through our search warrants, indicated that 2 days later, on July 28th, he accessed a Newsday article with regard to information on the case and with regard to the police looking for information on the case. That search was erased, but we were able to recover it. 1 day later, on July 29th, notably, the defendant was seeking to purchase a new Chevy Avalanche truck, notwithstanding the fact that he already had a dark-colored Chevy Avalanche truck, which was only approximately 4 months old at the time. The Chevy Avalanche truck, which we've been discussing all along, is dark-colored. His internet search related to the acquisition of the same Chevy Avalanche truck, but this time in white or bright blue, bright-colored truck, completely different from the dark-colored truck that he'd been riding in. And once again, that purchase with regard to the new trucks that was attempted to be obliterated. We spoke, and Nick Santamartino did the bail application, so I don't want to repeat all that Nick said, but with regard to the hairs found in this case, Jessica Taylor was found laying atop a surgical drape. A male hair was found between the body and the drape. That was recovered back in 2003. In 2023, we brought that hair was brought to the mitochondrial testing lab for mitochondrial DNA analysis, and was able to the results of that was able to exclude 99.96% of the population, but not Rex Heuermann, the defendant. Then again, later in 2024, we brought to a second lab for nuclear DNA testing, and once again, the result was the defendant could not be excluded as the donor of that hair, and it's 1.837 times 10 to the 603rd power more likely that it came to that it matched the defendant or someone matching the defendant's DNA profile than a member of the population at large. And that number, just so it's 1.837 times 10 to the 603rd power. So what you do is you take that 1.837 and you move that decimal point over 63 places and add zeros. That's the number. That number doesn't exist. It's so big. Among other things that we were able to establish with regard to the murder of Jessica Taylor was, once again, family travel. We were able to determine that at the time of the disappearance and death of Jessica Taylor, once again, the defendant's family was out of the state. They were staying at a resort known as Smuggler's Notch in Vermont. We were able to corroborate that information through witness statements, photos, and phone and financial records. In addition, there was a hard drive that backed up to a Palm Pilot, which was the defendant's date book, and in that, and again, this is chronicled in the bail application, but in that date book, it's indicated that his wife is in Virginia at Smugs from July 20th through July 27th, and that's page 14 of the bail document. With regard to the 1993 discovery of Sandra Castilla, again, on November 20th, 1993, two individuals, while hunting in that wooded area of Southampton in the vicinity of Old Fish Cove Road in North Sea, discovered her body. She was lying on her back with her arms outstretched over her head. Her legs were uncovered, and her shirt was pressed over her head. The victim suffered numerous sharp force injuries, 25 in all, which we believe were post-mortem. And these were injuries to her face, torso, breasts, left thigh, and in her vaginal area. Once again, we had hairs recovered from Sandra Castilla. This is chronicled in the bail application. There were two hairs from Sandra Castilla's remains that are of particular significance in this case. One was a female hair that was recovered from the victim's right arm, and one was a male hair that was recovered from a tape lift of one of the shirts that the victim was wearing that was pushed above her head. In 2014, about 10 years ago, the two hairs plus another female hair, which were found on Castilla, were sent to an outside mitochondrial DNA lab for testing. And at that time, John Bitroff was excluded as the donor of those 3 hairs. Those once the task force began investigating Gilgo and related cases, those hairs were retested in 2023 and 2024 and compared with the defendant's known sample from the buccal swab that we obtained. Regarding that male hair, the mitochondrial DNA profile developed from that male hair on the victim Castilla and the profile developed from the defendant's buccal swab are match, and specifically at a rate that would exclude 99.96% of the North American population, and defendant Heuermann cannot be, therefore, cannot be excluded as the contributor of that male hair on Castilla. In March of 2024, that same male hair or extract therefrom was brought to the same outside lab for nuclear DNA testing, and once again the results came back, and which found it was 4.347 times 10 to the 332 power more likely to have come from a person genetically identical to Rex Heuermann than from an unrelated individual. So that's 4.347.
Okay, what about the
and then
female?
You move that decimal point over 332 times to get the odds. Again, an astronomically large number. Regarding the female hair, prior to with regard to the female hair, one of the female hairs that was recovered on Ms. Castilla, prior to Ms. Castilla's disappearance, the defendant had been living with a female individual at his home in Massapequa Park. The female individual lived with the defendant at his current residence through the summer and into the early fall of 1993 and vacated the premises approximately 2 months or so prior to Ms. Castilla's death in 1993. Once we got those 2 female hairs, once we knew of those 2 female hairs' existence, we went out and obtained a DNA profile, a buccal swab, from this female. And that DNA profile that we obtained from the female buccal swab, we sent it to the mitochondrial testing lab. And again, it was able to exclude 99.98% of the North American population as the contributor of said hair, but it could not exclude the female who was living with Rex Heuermann. Again, we brought that same DNA and extract to the nuclear DNA testing, and the female's hair was tested and compared with the female hair that was recovered on the victim Castilla, and it was found to be 4.578 times 10 to the 1,040th power more likely have come from a person genetically identical to the female witness who was living with Rex Heuermann in 1993, shortly before Ms. Castilla's death, than from an unrelated individual. Again, that's 4.578, and you move that decimal point over 1,040 places, and that's the number.
Who dated him?
There was an additional female hair that was recovered in 2014. That was recovered, that was compared to both the female living with Mr. Heuermann and the defendant, and we could not get a match on that, and that remains unidentified, that female hair. So we have those DNA results, and again, we were able to establish, similar to all the other cases, that at or around the time of Ms. Castilla's disappearance and murder, Rex Heuermann was living alone at the house in Massapequa Park and had unfettered access to the house, and no one else was living with him at the time. So now I want to discuss some of the newly discovered digital evidence in the case. Before I discuss that, I just wanted to clarify some of the things that we've been talking about in our earlier press conferences. You were asked I was asked specifically about smart devices and digital devices that were recovered from the home and business of the defendant in connection with this case. So I just want to catalog that for you so you get a sort of flavor of what it was. We've recovered 15 different types of cameras We've recovered 27 computers. We've recovered 58 internal hard drives. We recovered 22 external hard drives or solid drives. We recovered 46 cell phones. We recovered 9 Wi-Fi routers, 44 SD micro cards, which are like jump routers, 17 tablets, 42 USB devices, 8 laptops, 50 hotel cards, 4 GPS devices, 11 music devices, 36 SIM cards, 33 miscellaneous items, and 647 CD, floppy disks, or VSH or miscellaneous tapes.
I have chills.
Again, in the months subsequent to the arrest, we've been endeavoring through our own office and with the help of the Secret Service to analyze that massive amount of data. And analysis of those devices has revealed, certainly, that Heuermann had a significant collection of violent, bondage, and torture pornography, which was dating back to 1994. And that material was very similar to the condition that the 2 latest victims were left in. In addition to that, it is alleged that the pornographic images that were accessed by Heuermann are consistent with the crime scenes of both Sandra Casilla and Jessica Taylor. Now, as part of our processing of the electronic devices, the task force discovered a Microsoft Word document entitled HK 2002 through 2004. That was discovered on a laptop in unallocated space, meaning there was an attempt to erase that document. But as most forensic experts know, that even when a document is erased on a device, it is the user could no longer access that document, but forensic experts using particular software can retrieve it, and this document was retrieved in this case. It was a locally created draft, which means the document itself was created on the laptop. It wasn't downloaded from the internet. The document was modified. It was originally created in 2000, and it was overwritten a number of times and modified between 2001 and 2002. Now, as alleged in the bail application, the task force believes that this is a planning document, and it was utilized by Heuermann to methodically blueprint and plan out his kills with excruciating detail. We allege that this document evinces the defendant's intent in committing the charged crimes, that his intent was specifically to locate these victims, to hunt them down, and to bring them under his control and to kill them. His motivations, meticulous planning, and clear intent is obvious. His intent was nothing short but to murder these victims. And we allege that the methodology, that the exact method by which these murders were committed, in excruciating detail in that document, is in some cases identical to the methodology used to murder the 6 victims in this case. Now, I don't want to speak further on the document. I believe the document speaks for itself. So if anybody has any questions about the document, I'd be more than willing to answer them. But before turning it over for questioning, I want to reiterate, right from the very beginning of this case, from the onset of the case, the first indictment, we said that the case was not over. We said we were going to continue to investigate the case of the Gilgo 4 and find more evidence. We've done that. We've said that we were going to expand the investigation both on Gilgo and off, and to investigate new cases. We've done that, and that's resulted in the 2 new charges that you see here today. So that's what we've done. That's what we've continued to do, and my office, along with our partners, are not going to stop. This case continues. So with that, I will turn it over for questions.
I had a question about, we'll just go.
Damn, one at a time, y'all, one at a time.
About the planning.
I didn't see it down there.
It's okay. So I'm just wondering, why is he now being charged with first-degree murder? Because of this web document that he had, planning these murders. Why is it second degree, not first degree? Isn't that premeditated?
So first degree, I mean, there are a number of different charging theories you could use for murder in the first degree. One of them is if you charge a murder within a specific period of time. I think it's 18 months. So if you look at, so we have 3 murder 1 charges and 6 murder 2 charges. And if you look at the time of the deaths, Sandra Castilla, 93, Jessica Taylor, 2003, Maureen Brainerd Barnes, 2007, Melissa Bartholomew, 2009, Megan Waterman, 2010, and Amber Costello, 2010. Those last 3, Bartholomew, Costello, and Waterman, fit within that period of time. So we could charge murder 1. The other ones, unfortunately, fall outside, so we're unable to bring that charge with regard to those, the other 5, the other 3 victims. So that's why it's different, just sort of the way New York State law is set up.
I wanted to ask about how this expands the search now, because now with this indictment, the earliest murder now changes to 1993, which gives it many more years than we had before. So how does this expand the search? How are you guys expanding this to find out other victims that are possibly involved in this?
Well, I think first and foremost, it expands the information for the public and the media. It doesn't change anything for us. We were, I think in March of this year, we learned of this document. We had been investigating other things. So again, my confidence in saying that we were going to move off of the Gilgo 4 to the new bodies and off of Gilgo itself was based upon my knowledge of the investigation. So that's something that we've been doing for a while now. It's just sort of become publicly known.
How do you know, Senator?
We have no information with regard to that.
So just piggybacking off of that, so the alleged murders happening between 93 and 2010, just how alarming is this sweeping timeline you're looking at?
Well, I think this whole case in general is alarming. And I think it underscores that which we already knew, that we have an individual who we are alleging, and again, these are allegations, meticulously planned and executed 6 separate murders. So that in and of itself speaks for itself.
And there are other victims named in the court documents. Are more charges on the way?
So we're going to continue. Again, we're going to continue to investigate, and we'll talk about whatever other investigation we're undergoing when and if we bring those charges.
And Mr. Tierney, in your document you mentioned the words torture, bondage, violence, and also Stockholm Syndrome. Is there any evidence to reveal that perhaps Rex Heuermann took these women or any of them captive in his home, attempted to brainwash them, put them under his...
Well, that's what that document contains. And again, that speaks for itself. We'll make arguments with regard to that. And at the trial. The specific reference to Stockholm Syndrome, that pertains to a book, Mindhunter, by a former FBI profiler, John Douglas, his name escaped me for a moment. And so we know there are specific page references to that book and stuff such as sexual substitution, torture, and also Stockholm Syndrome. And, our argument, it's our allegation that the defendant was referencing that Mindhunter book not to gain insight into his own behavior, to modify or change it, but rather to use it as a means of improving his methodology and avoid capture by the authorities.
Was that book found in Sir, what about Valerie Mack? I know I believe, was found out in Manorville in a similar way that she was murdered.
So you have, and if you go back to that document, they talk about DS or dump sites in Mill Road, Halsey Manor Road, and Mill Road. It intersects with each other. So, and if you look at the method of the crime scene, very similar to Jessica Taylor. That's what we could say now. We'll continue to work the case, and if we're able to develop more information and get to the point where we can charge it, we'll talk about it. You had real question?
Yes, I was wondering, you mentioned that book. Did Heuermann have that book in his...
So he references specific page numbers in the doc, or specific page numbers are represented in the document, which match up to a particular edition of the Mindhunter book. The Mindhunter book was not found in Heuermann's house, but there was another serial killer book written by John Douglas found in his house, and I think that's in the bail document.
I just think, obviously, we probably knew this already, but uncovering a lot of new details that we didn't know, as far as dismemberment, that he was younger when he allegedly killed, that, of course, this document is explosive. Just talk to me, looking at the bigger picture profile of a serial killer, what was investigators, your thoughts when you were uncovering these new sort of details that...
Yeah, we had no thoughts. We look at the evidence and we follow the evidence. We know that criminals in general, people in general, their modus operandi change through the course of their life. Obviously there was no dismemberment with regard to the original Gilgo 4, but there is with regard to, unfortunately, Ms. Taylor. So, it's just, and again, everyone says, are you expanding the investigation? And we're doing it under the auspices of the Gilgo Task Force. But each new case that we look at, each new crime scene we look at it independent of everything, and then we make a determination. Where does that evidence leads us? Does it lead us to one particular suspect or another particular suspect? But we don't, get a list and say, okay, we're gonna automatically assume that certain people committed certain crimes. That's not the way to do it. That's not the way we do it. We look at and again, in the bail document, you talk about, if you want to know, and this is from John Douglas's book that the document quotes, you want to know who the painter is, look at the painting. And that is something that Douglas used to tell his investigators, and that pertains specifically to, if you want to know who committed the crime, look at the crime scene and the condition of the victim. And again, if you do that in this case, we would allege that the crime scene and the victim is matched very much with a lot of, first off, the document that we found, and also a lot of the defendant's internet activities and the bondage and torture type of pornography that he was interested in obsessively searching.
Right. Do you believe at this point that the murders were committed in his house? And can you also talk about the note he put in his in that document that was referenced in court?
I'm familiar with the note. I'm sorry.
There was I thought the ADA talked about something about, he said, if you do certain things equals more playtime.
Oh, okay. So yeah. So that is referenced. What is the specific quote was? More. Okay, more rest, more playtime. And so basically, what he's talking about is, well, what the allegation and what we would allege is, the more rested, the participants are, the more you can get done. And he also talks about, the document also talks about crime scene, and if you're sleepy and spending too much time in a crime scene, or your lack of sleep, your chances of making mistakes increase. So again, there's a lot of evincing of intent in that document.
And what about where these murders took place? Any
So there's, under some of the considerations was in the document, it writes about tape not good, use push pins. And then once we received that document, we went back into the house and looking at the paneling in the downstairs basement area, we were able to look at it through infrared light. We would establish a cordon off area where adhesive had been placed. So we're going to make certain arguments with regard to that at the time of trial. We also found an area where there were push pins into the drop ceiling.
Does he make any specific references to victims in the manifesto?
There's a T1, a T1 and T2. We would argue that stands for target 1, target 2. Target 1, it says Megan with a question mark, and target 2, it says black, and then in parentheses unknown, I believe. You could look at the bail document. That pertains to specific victims. If you look at the timing of it, It wouldn't seem to pertain to Megan Waterman because it's too early in time. There is also a reference to phone numbers of potential victims. We've searched, and we block out our phone numbers. We kept that in the document because we've come to an impasse with regard to those phone numbers. So if any members of the public have information with regard to those phone numbers, we would certainly be receptive to receive that.
So Valerie Mack, her death was mentioned twice in this latest bail document. Is Rex officially a suspect in Valerie Mack's death?
I think that would be fair to say, yeah.
And is it Mill Road where her remains were found?
Yes.
And
yeah.
Taylor was close to the
Valerie Mack was. If you go down, you have Halsey Manor Road, and then Mill Road is like further, like, as you said, away from the expressway, I believe, or the exit to the expressway. But in that same area, and Valerie Mack was a little bit further into the woods.
Ray, have you found any evidence at all about what he might have been up to in the last decade or so, or did he just stop in 2010? How many other missing persons cases or unsolved crimes do you now have to look at, given where you are?
So the quick answer to that, yes, we have. We're still developing that, and obviously, none of that is actionable, and With regard to the missing, cases, we're looking at all of them, and but we're looking at them, not necessarily in the context of any particular defendant, including this one. We're looking at them, separate and apart as missing cases, and with the universe of information that we have, not only in this case but other cases, how can we work towards solving some of these cold cases?
That's 30 years of crime.
Yes.
Did the new search of North City uncover any evidence that has helped the case?
So I would say that, it was, as I've said all along, it's a necessary investigative step. It's a huge area, and we felt that we needed to do that at some point in time. We wanted to do it before the summer, and the brush got real thick. So, we didn't know logistically how we were going to do it. We knew it was going to be difficult, but you don't not do something because it's difficult. And again, fortunately, our partners in the New York State Police, the Suffolk County Police as always, and the NYPD, their canine units went out and they did a fantastic job. We have so much gratitude to them for helping us out. But no new bodies were found.
Mr. Chairman, just following up on Greg's question, do you believe, with all the search going on in the basement, with what you found in the manifesto, that the basement was a location where the crimes could have been committed?
So, again, it doesn't matter what I believe. It matters what we can prove. This is, a significant investigative step. This was a significant investigative finding, and we'll continue to develop those things.
Was there any kind of blood or remains or anything found in the basement?
We'll get to you next. I'm sorry. Could you say that again? Whoever said what they said? You said, oh, sorry.
I was just wondering, in the basement, I
Yeah.
know there was the new search. Were there any specific findings that could relate to actual blood, hair, human remains of any kind in the basement?
Well, as we've said all along, if you look at the DNA evidence and the trace evidence that we've done, it doesn't happen overnight. Right. So there's additional testing that we're undergoing. We just have to see the results of that. Well, we always see suspicious things, but in any case. Yeah. But is it a stain of something benign, or is it an investigatively significant stain? Right. Only our forensic scientists can tell that after a lot of work.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Could you share any of the trophies that you found from?
Well, we in our bail letter, we're pretty much constrained by our bail letter to what we could publicly disclose. We found other information, which will be disclosed at the time of trial. So we're not gonna get into it, and that's not to say they exist. We're just not going to get into it. We can't. Ethically, I'm really enjoying from talking about it. Could you?
Can you tell us when the document on the laptop was first discovered, and is that what prompted the research of the house recently?
Again, in any effective investigation, it's never just one thing. Certainly that was something that was significant and led us in among other things in that direction. That document, I believe, we recovered it in March 7th of this year. Fairly recently, and certainly given the sprawling history of this case.
And
Go ahead.
you said he had a lot of images and videos of torture porn on his devices. Were any of them his own victims?
We saw no evidence of that.
Could you speak about his profile? Like, was one set of murders different from another set, and does that indicate that he was sort of changing his tactics over the years, or is this all consistent when you look at all the evidence so far?
Well, I think if you look at a macro view or a micro view, these are young women tragically lost their lives and were murdered as a result of a person who meticulously planned their murders. If you look at the earlier murders as opposed to the later murders, it does appear that there was some changes. Exactly what happened with regard to the Gilgo 4, we are foreclosed about knowing a lot of that stuff because they were skeletonized. Jessica and Sandra were more recently found, so we were able to glean more information from the crime scene. So, I guess it just depends what your perspective is on with regard to all that.
Was the March 7th discovery of the Word document the evidence that caused the second search of the house?
Well, as I think I previously, it was a impetus, but in any good investigation, there's usually a number of different things that cause that. I would say it was a significant one, and it was also an impetus to go back out into those areas and search with the dogs. And Manorville and North Sea and every place else we went.
With different allegations that happened probably in 93, it could open the possibility of other murders like Karen Brigata or other people who have been killed.
So as we said, Karen Vergata, her remains were found partially in Jones Beach and partially in, I think, by Atlantic Beach, across from Blue Point on Fire Island. So, all those cases, every person who was tragically murdered in Suffolk County, they're in play.
Ray, can you say a quick word about how you bring this to trial? Are you going to, is there like a cutoff point where you're just going to try the 6, or you're just going to keep going and eventually put them on trial?
So we're not going to stop. We can't stop. We owe that to the victims. That's the least we can do. So we understand we have a court case. We understand we'll go forward with that, but we're not going to stop. So however that works, however we need to do that, we're going to do it. We have a great team. We have a great team of investigators. We have a great team of prosecutors. And you do what you have to do in this business. We will get it done. It's daunting. There's a lot, but we'll get it done.
Are you still going through those dozens of digital devices?
Oh yeah. Yeah. There's just reading off just gives, and a lot of them are encrypted. So that, when you have an encrypted device, that attempt to get in is ongoing. You're trying to crack the code, so to speak. So that's an ongoing effort.
Do you have any idea how many more that there are?
I'm not going to discuss. I'm not going to discuss that again because my speculation, my thoughts, don't matter. What I can prove in court. Speak through an indictment. I will talk about these 6 because, these are allegations at this point. We look forward to proving those allegations, but they are mere allegations at this point.
Has there been any attempts recently to talk to Rex?
You've been listening to the Suffolk District Attorney Ray Tierney lay out the prosecution against Rex Heuermann and these latest 2 murder charges now, 2 more victims.
Bombshell information uncovered here. What is a so-called manifesto, a document that seemed to have led to them finding more information about these bodies. We're going to have a lot more on this throughout the day, of course, so stay with us. This has been breaking news with News 12.
It's all good.
Commercial break. Sorry, guys. I didn't know they were going to break in. What's up, Cricket? We are on a break. So what we have so far is pretty disturbing. Let me go over what was revealed today in court with these 2 new charges. Okay, so we have 2 new victims, Sandra Castilla A female hair was located on Castilla on the victim's right arm. And that was identified as witness 3, which is someone she lived with. And then we have Jessica Taylor. There was a male hair underneath her body, and that was Rex Heuermann's. She also had a surgical drape underneath her. So a surgical drape is, one of those pads that they like put underneath you, if you're in the hospital or whatever. Kind of like a doggy pee pad, but a surgical drape. He also has a manifesto, if you will, or a planning document that he named HK Heuermann Kills, maybe 2002 to 2004. It's so disgusting. It's so twisted. Yes. Robbie, twisted. Yes. That's a good word for it. The guy that lived with one of the victims described the truck and everything. They could have caught him a long time ago, in my opinion, says True Crime. Yeah. It's nuts. This went on from, now we go back. I think they thought the first kill was in, what was it? I don't remember the first arrest, or the first finding. But it goes back now to 1993. So it puts like 10 years or something on his crime spree. So I don't know if they're ending this. We'll see. After this commercial, if they don't, we'll go back to the website. Yeah, 30 years. I mean, in 1993, I graduated high school in 91. So if I think about 1993, I was like 20 years old. I'm 50 now. 30 years. This man has been murdering, and now we find out dismembering women. The dismembering is, ugh. I mean, all of this is disturbing enough, but if you go back and look at Rex's family, you guys, they're fucked up too. His brother killed someone in a DUI. Then there was a car towed from his brother's house in North Carolina. And then his grandfather was a priest involved in some kind of pedo ring. God knows what his other family members have done, Oh my God, you were 8. Some of y'all probably weren't even born. It's just really creepy. And there's got to be, think about how many victims just of his grandfather alone in the Catholic Church. Think about that. Just the grandfather. Let alone everybody else. Yeah, this is stupid. I don't want to watch that. You were 10, Makita? You graduated in 94, Myron? His family was not in court this morning either. I don't know why it's not live. What the hell's going on here? It pisses me off that I don't know why this DA does this shit on Instagram, y'all. Like, what? Why? Why Instagram? I don't even have Instagram. This says live updates. Let's see what this does. Ads everywhere. They aren't going to show her talking. Let's see what.
His correctional officers shortly after his arrest. But what's happened in the months since then? Tonight, the Turn to Terror team heads behind bars to discuss.
That's not what we want. Are they not going to show it?
Short period of time.
I guess they're
for
not
them to
showing
go in
anything
there
because they're talking now. I guess that was it. I guess that was it, guys. Let's go and check this. Let's see if they're going to release any documents. I want the planning document. Do you think did they say they're going to release it? Oh, I think we've got it right here. Hang on, let's see. Okay, here's the Jessica Taylor. I've got it. I got the document. Hold on. Okay, so it says, on or about July 26, 2003, an individual whose identity is known to law enforcement as Witness 1 was walking his or her dog just west of Halsey Manor Road, Manorville, Suffolk County, New York. At that time, Witness 1 observed what appeared to be human remains, which prompted him or her to call 911. Upon arrival, members of the SCPD observed the remains of a female, later identified as Jessica Taylor. Miss Taylor was found lying on her back with her legs bent beneath her. Notably, the victim was decapitated, and both of Miss Taylor's arms had been severed from her body below her elbows. Moreover, a tattoo on the victim's torso had been severely obliterated by a sharp object. Severely I can't say that. Obliterated, right? Severely I can't say that. That's like one of those words. I just can't get it out. But gross. So in other words, he probably like dug it out or some shit. Good morning, Patrick, and good morning, Kels. Good morning, Explore. Investigators believe the mutilation of the victim's tattoo, decapitation of her head, and dismemberment of her arms were acts perpetrated by Rex Heuermann to inhibit the identification of the victim via facial recognition, fingerprints, and or tattoo identification. So in the press conference, the DA said that there were 25, wait, let me see, I made a note. 25 stab wounds, including to her head. Her head and her genitals. He dismembered her face. Or disfigured her face. Ugh. During the initial investigation in Manorville in 2003, the victim's head, hands, and arms were not found at the scene, and their location remained unknown for approximately 8 years. Good Lord. On March 29th, 2011, Miss Taylor's skull, hands, and forearm were discovered along Ocean Parkway, just east of Gilgo Beach, Suffolk County, New York. Notably, Miss Taylor's remains were located on the same side of the road from where Maureen Brainerd Barnes, Melissa Bartholomew, Megan Watermelon, I can't talk today. and Amber Costello, the Gilgo Four, had been found just several months prior in December of 2010. Each of the Gilgo Four victims, as well as the skull, hands, and forearm of Miss Taylor, were recovered on the same side of the road and at a depth of within 50 feet from the edge of the parkway. Furthermore, Miss Taylor's remains were located less than a mile from where the Gilgo Four were discovered. See embedded image on the following page. So here is the graph of where Kels. This is the graph of where they were all found. Number one up here at the very top on the far right side of your screen, that pin is Jessica Taylor. Pin number 2 is Maureen Brainerd Barnes. Pin number 3 is Melissa Bartholomew. Pin number 4 is Megan Waterman. And pin number 5 is Amber Costello. Jessica Taylor was last seen on or about January 19th, 2023 in New York City. The investigation to date has established that in July 2003, Miss Taylor was working as a sex worker in the area of Midtown Manhattan. On July 21st, 2003, I gotta get used to saying that, at approximately 8:41 p.m., Miss Taylor utilized her cellular phone to speak to her mother. Based on witness interviews and an analysis of her phone records, the Gilgo Homicide Task Force has learned that the two spoke for approximately 7 minutes. During that call, Miss Taylor had arranged to visit her mother on July 25th, 2003, in Poughkeepsie, New York, for her mother's birthday. Less than 2 hours after that, at approximately 10:22, the Taylor phone placed an outgoing call which lasted about 2 minutes. Thereafter, the Taylor phone records reveal no further outgoing calls or accepted incoming calls. So she talked to her mom, made an outgoing call for 2 minutes, and never had any activity again. On or about July 25th, 2003, when her daughter failed to arrive at her Poughkeepsie residence or answer any phone calls, Miss Taylor's mother notified law enforcement. At the time of Miss Taylor's disappearance, Rex Heuermann worked in the same vicinity as where Miss Taylor was known to street walk, i.e., work as a sex worker. Records seized during the execution of prior search warrants reveal Heuermann was in fact present in Midtown Manhattan on July 21st, 2003, the same date that Miss Taylor disappeared. On July 26th, 2003, and in the days thereafter, members of the SCPD canvassed the area around Halsey Manor Road, Manorville, in the vicinity where Miss Taylor's remains had been found. As a result, investigators spoke to a witness who had, on July 25th, 2003, at approximately 10:30 p.m., observed a dark-colored Chevy pickup backed into the same wooded area where Miss Taylor's body was found. Based upon their investigation, law enforcement determined that these observations would have occurred approximately 13 hours before witness one's 911 call. Notably, the investigation to date has established that defendant Heuermann purchased a 2002 dark-colored Chevy Avalanche on or about March 22nd, 2002. From Ramp Chevrolet in Port Jefferson Station, New York. Accordingly, on July 25th, 2003, at 10:30 p.m., defendant Heuermann would have been in possession of a vehicle matching the description of the one observed in the vicinity of where Miss Taylor's remains had been found on Halsey Manor Road. A forensic analysis of Rex A. Heuermann's digital devices, this is where it gets shocking, revealed the following. 1. That on or about July 28th, 2003, Rex A. Heuermann accessed a Newsday article entitled, quote, "Cops Seek Help in IDing Manorville Body regarding the discovery of Miss Taylor's human remains." That online activity was subsequently deleted. And 2, on or about July 29th, 2003, Rex A. Heuermann conducted an internet search for a new Chevrolet Avalanche. Despite his 2002 Avalanche being just 1 year old. The analysis further shows Heuermann also attempted to delete this search for a new vehicle. They're retrieving shit from 03. Google searches and shit from 03. When did Google even start? They're going way back. So he was seen, well, his truck was seen. So he knew that that truck was seen. He knew there was a dark colored truck seen backed into that area, right? I mean, this is what I'm gathering. Let me know if I'm picking up what they're laying down. That his truck was seen in that, backed into that vicinity. And then he went ahead and was searching for a different Avalanche. Like he wanted the Avalanche. But he looked for a light colored one like he was going to replace it maybe. Google started in 1999. I wonder, yeah, I mean, I guess maybe it was Google. They didn't say Google searches, but they just said searches. But it's crazy they're pulling this from 03, right? Isn't that nuts? I know, Flo. We have been Googled for years. It's crazy. I mean, I would have never thought they could go back to that far back. Because back then, things were rather new. You know what I mean? Like, everybody had a Yahoo email. Yahoo was the big search engine. AOL, America Online. I mean, it's just crazy. That shit truly never disappears, guys. Like, that's proof. That is proof you have no privacy on the internet. So don't ever be fooled and think that you do. Because you clearly don't. South Carolina fire. I don't know what you mean. Okay. The analysis further shows Heuermann also attempted to delete his search for a new vehicle. Notably, this activity occurred just days after Miss Taylor was discovered and just after witnesses observed a vehicle matching the physical description of Heuermann's leaving the scene. There we go.
Bing bang.
Look at this. This is the actual. This is where he actually searched and looked. Microsoft Windows. Look at this ish down here where it says source. Down here on the bottom right. Look at it says Microsoft FAT32 temporary. It's in his Windows/temporary internet files. And it says deleted. And if you delete your temporary internet files, they can still get them. They can still get them. I don't think I know anything about a fire, Myron. Finally, while the make and model of the vehicle Heuermann searched for is the same as his 02 vehicle, the exterior is different. Arrival blue, as well as another in Summit white, which are significantly brighter when compared to the dark green 02 Chevy Avalanche. Hairs recovered from Jessica Taylor. During the course of this investigation, Miss Taylor's body was examined by a forensic scientist with the Suffolk County Crime Laboratory, which revealed that Miss Taylor had been decapitated, dismembered at her arms below her elbows, and revealed quote, irregular disruption, oh my God, of the victim's nipples and the obliteration of her tattoo. During the examination of Miss Taylor's body, a male human hair was recovered, specifically from a surgical drape that had been underneath the victim. A subsequent examination of the male hair underneath Taylor led to the determination that it was a human head hair with Caucasian European characteristics. However, it was, based on the DNA testing capabilities at the SCCL, unsuitable for further DNA testing at that time. On or about August 24th, 2023, the Gilgo Homicide Task Force brought a cutting of the male hair underneath Taylor to an outside forensics laboratory, which specializes in forensic mitochondrial analysis. On or about, that's hair. On or about February 1st, 2024, Forensic Lab Number 2 issued a report concluding that the mitochondrial DNA profile developed from the male hair underneath Taylor and the profile developed from the defendant's buccal swab are the same. Then they go into the statistics. While 99.96% of the North American population can be excluded as the contributor for the male hair underneath Taylor, Defendant Heuermann cannot be excluded as the contributor of the said hair recovered underneath the remains of Jessica Taylor. On or about March 8th, 2024, the Gilgo Homicide Task Force brought a cutting of the male hair underneath Taylor and a DNA extract of Rex A. Heuermann's buccal swab to an outside independent laboratory. On or about April 24th, not too long ago, Forensic Laboratory Number 1 issued a report indicating it had developed a nuclear DNA profile for not only the male hair underneath Taylor, but also from Rex Heuermann's buccal swab. Forensic Laboratory Number 1 was able to conduct a one-on-one autosomal nuclear DNA comparison, and they matched it to Rex. Let's just put it that way. So 2 forensic laboratories have now independently determined that the hair from the surgical drape underneath Jessica Taylor were Rex Heuermann's. Heuermann's family travel in relation to the disappearance of Jessica Taylor. As part of the ongoing investigation, the Gilgo Homicide Task Force has also established that Heuermann's wife and children were out of state at the time of Miss Taylor's disappearance. How did this always happen when his wife was out of state? And why was his wife and children always out of state? But it seems like, let's see what the dates are on this. Summer. So maybe they were gone for summer vacation without dad. Okay, so they were out of state at the time of Miss Taylor's disappearance and murder. A consistent theme attributable to the defendant for each of the charged homicides thus far, which have allowed the defendant unfettered time and opportunity to execute these crimes. Specifically in 2002 and 2003, Defendant Heuermann's daughter, Victoria, was a kindergarten student at McKenna Elementary School located in Massapequa Park, New York. At the time, Victoria was classmates with an individual whose identity is also known to law enforcement as witness number 2. Can you imagine you went to kindergarten with Rex Heuermann's freaking daughter, and now you're drug into this case? Well, they were in Virginia or Vermont for this one. They weren't in California. So anyways, based on post-arrest interviews with witnesses, including witness number 2's family and Victoria Heuermann, the Gilgo Homicide Task Force has learned that at the conclusion of the kindergarten school year, Miss Ellerup and her 2 children vacationed with witness 2's family. So they were with another family. So they're with another family, and he's at home getting sex workers and dismembering them. The heck? Weird. Okay. They vacationed from July 20th, 03 through on or about the 27th of July in 03 at Smuggler's Notch Resort, which is located in Jeffersonville, Vermont. Rex Heuermann did not attend this trip. So now, I got to be nosy and look up this damn resort and see where they were staying. 3-star hotel. Let's see here. Let's take a look at Smuggler's Notch. Oh, how beautiful. Must be nice, huh? I mean, this was a long time ago. Look at the pool, though. This is a long time ago. This place is old. But look, skiing. But that was the summertime. So here Rex's family is doing shit like this. And he's at home getting sex workers and unaliving them. And it does have skiing. It has pools. It has gamings, laser tag and shit. Look at that sky, though. Wow. Looks like they have a lot of activities. But yeah, that's where they were. Look how pretty that is. Interesting. Okay, back to the document. These witness accounts have been corroborated via telephone records and electronic data seized during the execution of the July 2023 search warrants. For example, agents of the Gilgo Homicide Task Force seized AT&T records, which detail calls made to and from the Heuermann residence in July 03. These records show that during the aforementioned family vacation, the landline telephone associated with the Heuermann residence was located at 105 First Avenue, Massapequa Park, made several phone calls to a telephone number bearing an 802 area code. Further investigation has tied this phone number to Smuggler's Notch Resort. Hi, Global. Good to see you. Thus, investigators believe defendant Heuermann made these calls from Target Residence, which is their home in Massapequa Park, to his family staying in Jeffersonville, Vermont. And then they pull the phone records from AT&T home landline records from 03. But they also they said they did not redact these other phone numbers because they're wondering who they are. And they're saying, if you know any of these phone numbers, to let them know. And there's numbers here from New Jersey, Illinois, Pennsylvania, and then his calls to his family in Vermont. This is his date book. Holy shit. Okay. Finally, in July 2023, the Gilgo Homicide Task Force seized a hard drive from the basement of Target Residence. So last summer, an extraction and analysis of that hard drive revealed that it contained a Palm Pilot backup file, which appeared to contain defendant Heuermann's date book or calendar for relevant dates. The Gilgo Homicide Task Force subsequently hired a digital forensic expert who, by utilizing native Palm software, was able to convert the above data into a readable format. This is pretty amazing. Because Palm Pilots, right, that shit's old. Like, no one uses Palm Pilots anymore. But we have a date book for him from July 10th, 03 to July 28th. It says Rabco, Cooling Tower. Let's go through these really quick. Amity meeting, meet Bill Irons for 4th floor, Camp Smith match, inspect 103rd Avenue, meet Kenny Mainco, something, Greenwich meeting, date of birth for something, A lot of work stuff, 11:30 meet Gary at 609 Greenwich, Pick up Derek at 6 a.m. for airport. Dr. Peller, 2:30 appointment. Elevator, Black Hall, Meet Geo I Raver at office to set up for court. L. Lanza at office. For fuck's sake. L. Lanza at office at 11 a.m. to go over West 23rd Street. Wife in Vermont at Smugs. And those are all circled. He's just got site things. Okay, Derek at house. Who the fuck is Derek? When his wife was in Vermont, Derek at house to cut 6x6 post on bandsaw. He has it twice. Derek at house to cut 6x6 post on bandsaw. So he picked up this Derek on the 16th at the airport, and then this Derek was at his freaking house cutting posts. Concrete pour at 21 Southwest on Monday, July 28th, 03. Isn't that crazy, Explore Corps? I can't believe, like, Palm Pilots, they're getting schedules from those. It's crazy. Based on the foregoing, the investigation to date has clearly established defendant Heuermann's wife and children were indeed located out of state during the time of Jessica Taylor's disappearance. Accordingly, the murders of all 4 charged victims and now Miss Taylor occurred at times when defendant Heuermann's wife and children were out of state. The 1993 discovery of human remains of Sandra Castilla. On or about November 20th, 1993, 2 individuals, while hunting in a wooded area of Southampton in the vicinity of 50 Old Fish Cove Road, North Sea, Suffolk County. Let's see what that looks like. This is where Sandra Castilla was found. Let's see what that area looks like. So it must be in those woods. Creepy. Whoops. Oh my gosh, that just scared the living crap out of me. But here's Old Fish Cove Road right here. So in the wooded area, I don't know why I don't have satellite view on this. Oh, there it is. Okay. So it's probably this wooded area up here or behind these homes. God knows. God knows. So Rex Heuermann drove down this road and dumped remains back in the early 90s. And these houses look, I mean, it looks like these houses have been there a while. But he went back into these woods. Damn. Okay. Okay, so her date of birth was 8/25/65. The victim, who had been 28 years old at the time, was lying on her back with her arms outstretched over her head. Oh my God. Oh my God, I know my dog, she barks out of the clear blue and her bark is like so piercing. It scares the shit out of me every time. I'm sorry. That's my guard dogs. Hold on, guys. I'll be right back. Just give me 2 minutes. Okay, sorry about that. That was actually Bella. That wasn't Summer. That was Bella. Summer's actually sleeping on the chair behind me, chilling. Bella's all high strung, barking at anything and everything. Sorry about that. Okay. The victim, who had been 28 years old at the time, was lying on her back with her arms outstretched over her head with her uncovered legs spread apart. The victim's shirt had been pulled up over her torso and head, exposing her breasts. The victim had numerous sharp force injuries to inter alia, her face, torso, breasts, left thigh, and vaginal area. Miss Costello was a native of Trinidad and Tobago, but had been living in New York prior to her disappearance and murder. Hairs recovered from the remains of Sandra. During the course of the 1993 investigation, Miss Costello's body was examined by a forensic scientist with the SCCL, which led to the recovery of 3 hairs from the victim's remains. One of the victim's right arm, one from a tape lift of a striped shirt above the victim's head, as well as one from a tape lift of the white shirt above the victim's head. In 2014, well before the identification of Rex Heuermann as a suspect in Miss Costello's murder, the hairs on Costello were sent to Forensic Laboratory Number 2, which was able to develop a unique mitochondrial DNA profiles for each of the hairs on Costello. On or about August 1st, 2014, Forensic Laboratory Number 2 received an extract of John Bittrolff's buccal swab. Forensic Lab Number 2 was able to develop a mitochondrial DNA profile from John Bittrolff's buccal swab and subsequently compared it to the mitochondrial DNA profiles that had previously generated for each of the hairs on Costello. At the conclusion of its analysis, Forensic Lab 2 was able to exclude John Bittrolff and his maternal relatives as contributors of the hair on Costello. So I'm sure Rex Heuermann was just thrilled that this John was being blamed for these murders, right? So has it come out? Did this John Bittrolff even do anything? Do you guys know? Because I don't know that part of this. I know he was accused, but is he still accused of some crimes or what? M. McAttack, I've driven past the Heuermann house, an absolute dump in a nice neighborhood. I know, I feel bad for those neighbors. Recently, the Gilgo Homicide Task Force requested Forensic Lab 2 undergo forensic testing, specifically comparing the DNA profiles for each of the hairs on Costello, which had been developed back in 2014, prior to Heuermann emerging as a suspect for Miss Costello's murder, to known samples provided by the Gilgo Homicide Task Force. On or about February 29th of 2024, Forensic Lab 2 issued a report concluding that the DNA profile developed from the male hair on Costello and the profile developed from the defendant's buccal swab are the same. So they matched that to Rex, that he cannot be excluded. Prior to Miss Costello's disappearance and murder, defendant Heuermann had been living with a female individual who they're hiding her disappearance. Thank you so much, Global, for letting me know that. He was convicted and imprisoned for 2 women. Okay. So what they're trying to do is connect. They were trying to figure out whose was whose, right? They were trying to connect these all to this John But then they weren't panning out and matching up to John, right? So weird. So did Rex Heuermann use burlap because John used burlap? Was he trying to frame these murders on this John guy? Do we think that's what it was? Because if he searched him, he would know what he did, right? So his girlfriend is known as witness number 3.
Bing bang.
During the course of this investigation, the GHTF was able to secure a buccal swab from witness 3, which was secured via her consent. So they caught up with his ex-girlfriend this year in 2024. Welcome back, Kendo. So they caught up with Rex's ex-girlfriend from the 90s. If she lived there, where was she? Where was she? He mutilated Sandra Castilla. Where was the live-in girlfriend when he was doing this mutilation? And she's being not identified. So do we think she's going to be a witness? Another deal? I wonder. So they concluded that the female hair was witness number 3. But now they're saying here that witness number 3, who had but no longer resided at the target residence prior to Miss Castilla's disappearance. So they're saying that she moved out before Miss Castilla went missing. On or about March 8th, 2024, the GHTF brought a cutting of the hairs on Castilla, as well as a DNA extract of witness number 3's buccal swab, to forensic laboratory number 1. And they matched it to her. She could not be excluded, and neither could Rex. Long story short, and then it says that both laboratories were able to forensically tie witness 3, who had resided at Rex Heuermann's prior to Miss Castilla's disappearance and murder, to the female hair recovered on her remains. Shane Culkin in the house. Hello, Shane.
Coming in hot, just like the fajita.
Good to see you, Shane. So they matched the female hair to her, to witness 3, and then the foregoing provides further support that Rex A. Heuermann mutilated, murdered, and transported the body of Sandra Castilla to Southampton. So does that mean she was at the house and then he transported her from the house? Is that what that means? So this, I wonder why she moved out. But there's also an unidentified female hair that they did not identify. It's so good to see you, Shane. So there's one unidentified female hair that was on Sandra. And then we have this. This is, I kind of read over the 2 new victims where the hairs were found, but this lists all of the victims. And they were discovered in 93, 2003, 2010, and 2011. But when, actually, Global, do you know when he met Asa? When did he meet Asa? Heuermann's unfettered access to target residence during the disappearance and murder of Miss Sandra Castilla. Based on post-arrest interviews with witnesses, the GHTF has learned that witness 3, which is the lady that moved out, began living together in 91. She lived there for 2 years. In September of 93, approximately 2 months before Miss Castilla's disappearance and murder, witness 3 moved out. Prior to witness 3 moving out, Heuermann's mother had moved out of the residence. This lady lived there with him and his mom. I can't. So creepy.
I heard Eduardo with like a G.
Sorry. Mailman. Prior to witness 3, okay, so wait, we read that. Heuermann's mother moved out. Based on the foregoing, neither Heuermann's mother nor witness 3 were living at the residence during the time of Sandra Castilla's murder. Accordingly, the murders of all 4 charged victims, and now the murders of Miss Taylor and Miss Castilla, occurred at times when defendant Heuermann would have had unfettered time to execute his plans for each victim without any fear that his family or others residing at the target residence would uncover or learn of his involvement in these crimes. Newly discovered digital evidence. As detailed in Exhibit A. That's actually Bella. That's Bella Rose. Following Heuermann's arrest, numerous search warrants were executed at his residence, which culminated in the seizure of over 350 electronic devices. 350. In the months subsequent to Heuermann's arrest, the GHTF has attempted to extract and analyze data from each of these devices. An analysis of these devices has revealed Heuermann's significant collection of violent bondage and torture porn, currently dating back to 1994. My God in heaven. This is before, like, I was even on AOL. I got on AOL in 1998. In 1994, he had a collection of all this shit. Pornographic images accessed by Heuermann include, but are not limited to, and this is a major trigger warning, this is disgusting, breast mutilation, vaginal torture, sex substitution, i.e. penetration with an object, the sexualization of decapitated women. Ooh. Oh.
God almighty.
Bondage and whipping, which notably and largely coincide with how the remains of Sandra and Jessica and Valerie Mack were discovered. Moreover, during the analysis of a hard drive recovered from the basement of Heuermann's residence, the Gilgo Homicide Task Force recently discovered a Microsoft Word document entitled HK 2002 to 2004. This document was discovered in an unallocated space. Allocated space refers to stored data that a computer is using. On the other hand, unallocated space refers to available or unstructured data, which is not readily viewable and able to be opened by a user. Unallocated space frequently contains room for new data or old data that has been deleted, sent to the recycle bin, overwritten, etc. For example, when a user deletes data, many users believe the file has been purged forever. However, deleting a file only tells the computer that the space previously occupied by that file is now available.
Bing bong.
Yikes. The deleted data will remain in unallocated space until another file is written over it. Thank God he kept these old hard drives. Why did he keep them? Why didn't he destroy this? Because this was his trophy work? What? I mean, the hell? Or did he truly think it deleted? He probably truly thought it got deleted. Data contained within unallocated space can be retrieved via computer forensic extraction called file carving. A forensic analysis of the HK 2002 to 2004 document reveals that it was not only a locally created draft, but also recovered from a hard drive that indicates it was utilized by Heuermann himself. While the original document appears to have been created in 2000, this iteration of the Word document titled HK 02 to 04 appears to have been created and modified between 01 and 02. Based on the foregoing and the facts set forth, the task force members believe 2000 or 2002 to be a reference to calendar years. The task force members also believe, based on the foregoing and facts set forth, the Microsoft Word document to be a, quote, planning document, utilized by Heuermann to methodically blueprint and plan out his kills. Hereinafter referred to as HK planning document. Holy shit. We've got a list, folks.
Ooh, that will scare somebody.
The HK planning document begins with 4 category section with the underline headings of problems, supplies, DS, and TRG. Let's take a look at this document. Problems. This is his list of problems. DNA, tire marks, blood stains, fingerprints, MO, plastic bag / cat litter. Witness, trace source of supplies, foot shoe prints, photos, misleaders, police stop, truck stuck, fingerprints in gloves, plastic bags matched to box, hair and fiber, supplies, booties, lye acid, police scanner, rope cord, saw cutting tools, hair nets, photo film, burn can, foam drain cleaner, body wash wipes, tarps, drop cloths, medical gloves, bags and tape, large electric clips, ratchet cargo strap. Oh my God. You're looking at a list of a serial killer stating the problems with his kills and the supplies needed. Now, DS stands for dump site. Dump site 1, Mill Road. Dump site 2, ? Dumpster site. Next time recon dumpster locations. TRG, let's see, what is that? Target or victim. TRG, target. Target 1, Megan, ? Small is good. Unknown with black in parentheses. Those are his targets. Megan, small is good, and unknown black. Based on the Gilgo Homicides Task Force training and experience, the members believe problems to be a guide on issues to avoid apprehensions, supplies to be a reference to what supplies needed to carry out the serial murders, to avoid apprehension and avoid leaving behind DNA evidence. Thank you so much, Shane, for your super chat. He says, this guy is the most terrifying since Israel Keys. Absolutely. It's terrifying. Thank you so much, Shane. It's very generous of you. The DS appears to be an acronym for dump site. And Valerie Mack and Jessica Taylor were located in the vicinity of Mill Road and Ocean Parkway. Under that same heading, a note regarding dumpster sites references how to dispose of human or of physical evidence, and it says dispose of the following. With regards to the DS, it is important to note that the human remains of Jessica Taylor, discovered in 2003, as well as the remains of Valerie Mack, discovered in 2000, were dumped in 2 locations. I think it's Heuermann Kills is HK. And everyone that Rex unalived was tiny. On March 29th, 2011, Miss Taylor's torso, skull, and hands recovered near Ocean Parkway in a second dump site, which is the DS. On April 4th, 2011, Miss Mack's skull, hands, and right foot were recovered near Ocean Parkway, also a second dump site. The recent discovery of this document prompted the April 2024 cadaver search in the Manorville area, which did not yield the recovery of additional sets of human remains, thereby reinforcing the task force members' belief that the HK planning document refers to Heuermann's preparations for either Jessica Taylor and or Valerie Mack. The HK planning document on Heuermann's computer then delves into a 3-category section. The headings are pre-prep, prep, and post-event. Pre-prep is vehicle inspection, engage T1, recon DS1, locate DS2, weather report, recon vidcams, recon pickup zone for vidcams. Prep, set up stage, holding area, build table, crossbar, hardpoint, post-event, destroy file, change tires as in italics, burn gloves, dispose of pics, have story set. The Gilgo Homicide Task Force members believe prep to be a guide on steps to take in advance of a homicide, inspecting his vehicle, engaging the target, conducting a recon or survey of video surveillance cameras in pertinent areas, including the pick zone, the location where a victim is picked up, and checking the weather to ensure for optimal conditions. Prep, on the other hand, appears to be a reference to steps taken closer in time to homicide, i.e., setting up the staging area, holding area, and table, crossbar, hardpoint for the victim. Specifically, the prep section has 5 entries: setup stage, holding area, build table, crossbar, and hardpoint. The Gilgo Homicide Task Force members are aware that a crossbar is often placed underneath tables to provide further structural support for heavier objects being placed on a table. Additionally, the TF members are also aware that a hard point refers in the field of sexual, quote, suspension bondage to a fixed attachment point in the ceiling that supports the weight of an individual being suspended off the ground, which is corroborated by Heuermann's specific interest in pornography, where the subject is either suspended, tortured, bound to a table, decapitated, and or their breasts are mutilated, which is consistent with the foregoing notations regarding suspension, as well as the condition of the victims described herein. Oh my God. This is seriously a horror flick. So who's this dude that came to his house and cut these posts for him? Was this used to suspend people in the air? Who fucking helped him? Additionally, post-event appears to reference a checklist of tasks following the event or homicide to avoid apprehension. Destroy file, change tires, burn gloves, dispose of pics taken of the victim, and have story set. Alibi, story for family upon their return, or law enforcement should an inquiry be made. The HK planning document continues to further expound on preparatory measures such as a specific recon steps taken, packaging a body for transport, and steps to inhibit victim ID and avoid leaving behind DNA evidence. Look at this. Recon reports, vid cams on Lie Route 112 to Route 110, 33, old. Vid cams on SS Parkway, Route 231 to exit 30, 10, old. Is this what Katie did in her neighborhood, Katie Proudfoot? Did she recon all the cameras in the area and then tell them to go to bed? T1 info, cell 917-294-4402, beep voicemail 917-898-9854, old. Thanks, Global, for that. So maybe around 96, 97. Thank you. Creepy. Take down pickup. Hunt too long. Seen in area too long. Remember, don't charge gas. Recon for vid cams in pickup area next time. Body prep. Oh, Lord have mercy. This is disgusting.
I want this to be crystal clear.
Wash body inside and all cavities. Remove trace evidence, fingerprints, hair. Remove trace DNA. How did he even know what fucking trace DNA was back then? The fuck? How did this motherfucker know what trace evidence was in 2002? Holy shit. Remove ID marks, tattoos, marks. Remove marks from torture. He spells things wrong too. Remove marks from torture? I mean, what do? Carve it out? What is wrong with... Oh my God. Remove head and hands. Package for transport. Dispose of the following: tools and devices. T1, clothes and personal items. Drop cloths, wipes and towels. Ugh. Props, toys, wood items. Anything that touched T1. What you wore, meaning what Rex wore. Destroy book and computer files. Burn gloves. Dispose of box of plastic bags. Dispose of box of plastic. It says BAS, but I think he means BAG, but bag to avoid trace. The body prep section above includes a note to remove head and hands. Which clearly relates to the condition of Jessica and Valerie Mack's remains, as both victims were decapitated and dismembered at their arms below their elbows. Additionally, each of these victims' remains, as well as the remains of the Gilgo Four, were indeed, quote, packaged for transport, as this section indicates to do, further increasing the significance of this document's presence on Heuermann's laptop computer. Finally, this section also includes a note to, quote, remove ID marks. The examination of Miss Taylor's body in 2003 indicated numerous sharp, linear injuries to the victim's skin, specifically around where Miss Taylor's tattoo had been located, which investigators believe was intended to inhibit the ID of Miss Taylor's tattoo. Furthermore, the disposal of the following lists destroy computer files. The presence of this HK planning document in an unallocated space demonstrates his efforts to destroy or delete computer files. In the Things to Remember section, there are notes indicating steps to take, quote, next time. Considering a hit to the face or neck, quote, next time. Or using heavier rope for the neck as the, quote, light rope broke under stress of being tightened. He tightened the rope so fucking tight that it broke, y'all. Sherry, be careful today. Have a good afternoon. Heuermann further opines on the importance of sleep to not only avoid, quote, problems, but also to increase what Heuermann refers to as, quote, playtime. Things to remember. Sound travels, i.e. bird outside. Control the amount of air in and out to control the noise made. Get sleep before hunt. Too tired creates problems. Hit harder. Too many hit to take down. Consider a hit to the face or neck next time for takedown. More sleep and noise control equals more playtime. Use push pins to hang drop cloths from ceiling, not tape. Use heavy rope for neck. Light rope broke under stress of being tightened. As set forth above and embedded here below, the Gilgo Homicide Task Force members believe these references to next time indicate Heuermann's prior experiences and what changes to implement moving forward. Take down pickup. Hunt too long. Seen an area too long. Remember, don't charge gas. Recon for vid cams in pickup area next time. Moreover, the references in the Things to Remember utilize push pins to hang drop cloths from ceiling, not tape, as well as manifested concerns regarding sound travel. Indicate the referenced incidents would have occurred indoors and likely inside the target residence, which is a controlled environment. That Heuermann would not only be familiar with, but an area in which Heuermann would have had access to said tools and supplies. Drop cloths would also serve the twin purposes of limiting the spread of forensic evidence, such as blood, to a confined area, as well as controlling sound travel, which would lead to more, quote, playtime. Which is believed to be a reference to sexual and mutilation acts perpetrated on victims. Additionally, with Heuermann's family vacationing out of state, the defendant would have had unfettered time and exclusive access to the target residence. Finally, there's more. Finally, the HK planning document on Heuermann's laptop includes a notes section. Notes, spur of the moment, cover, Stockholm Syndrome. The more you do, the more clues you give. Look at the painting. What, why, who? Organized versus disorganized. And he does not know how to spell. Page 162. Sex substitution. Page 163. Page 175. Mutilation equals disorganized. The investigation to date has established the source of these notes, i.e. the Mindhunter paperback authored by John Douglas. I wonder how John Douglas feels that he gave Rex Heuermann a planning document. I've never read this book. The first edition was published in 1996 concerning the criminal profiling of serial killers, and now we have like Brian Koberger being taught under this Ramsland lady. Ugh, sick. For example, the notes section of the HK planning document includes the following notation. Page 162 of said book does indeed reference sex substitution, i.e. penetration with an object, as Douglas describes the, quote, rather horrible sexual mutilization and masturbation over the victim's body, but no intercourse. The penetration with the umbrella and pen were acts of sexual substitution. Great book. Yikes.
Creep town, dude.
On 163, Douglas opines that the perpetrator of such a crime, i.e. sex substitution, would be a disorganized killer who would be compulsive and perhaps, quote, living with his parents. Accordingly, this notation contained in the HK planning document is consistent with the aforementioned book in page number and subject matter. The notes section of the HK planning document also includes the following notation. Mutilation equals disorganized. In page 175 core of the first edition Mindhunter book, Douglas describes a woman's screams and shortly thereafter how the woman's throat had been cut and her naked body mutilated. Douglas further asserts on page 175 of said book, is this book like fiction or nonfiction? Makita coming in hot with 5 memberships, guys. Welcome. Thank you so much. That is so generous of you. Thank you. Oh, shit. Douglas further asserts on page 175 that mutilation is a sign of disorganized personality type. Accordingly, this notation contained in the document is consistent with the book. The notes section also contains look at the painting, what, why, who.
You're awesome.
On page 19 of said book, Douglas notes that while he was still at the FBI, he always advises agents, quote, if you want to understand the artist, the perpetrator, oh, he's an ex-FBI agent. Gotcha. That wrote a book about, got you, serial killers. Okay. Interesting. You learn something new every day. Y'all are so brilliant in here, man. I'm telling you. Thank you again, Makita, for those 5 memberships. We've looked at many paintings over the years and talked extensively to most accomplished artists. Accordingly, the note above, contained in Heuermann's laptop, to look at the painting, yet again points to the aforementioned book as a source of Heuermann's commentary. Finally, the other notations contained in the planning document, spur the moment cover, Stockholm Syndrome, the more you do, the more clues you give, also each contained in the said book, and all pointing it as a source of Heuermann's notations. The foregoing is corroborated in part by Heuermann's possession of other serial killer books by John Douglas. During the initial search warrant in July of 2023, the task force observed that Heuermann possessed in his home office The book entitled The Cases That Haunt Us, which outlines the facts, evidence, and victimology of several notable serial murder cases. The Gilgo Homicide Task Force members believe that the totality of circumstances surrounding the document, including Heuermann's attempt to delete its existence, points to it as Heuermann's self-education and homework. On the topic of carrying out serial sexual murder, Heuermann's pointed concerns regarding avoiding being captured on video surveillance, leaving behind forensic evidence, what supplies to purchase, how to package a body for subsequent transportation to dump sites, wash body inside and all cavities prior to package for transport, avoiding a paper trail, tying him to crimes or crime scenes. Remember, don't charge gas. Concerns regarding noise or air travel, which could inhibit playtime, and how to improve next time, further confirmed merely by looking within the four corners of the document itself, its relevance in this regard. The belief is further corroborated when looking at a litany of external factors, including how the 6 victims, now attributable to Heuermann, were indeed packaged and transported. And in the case of Miss Taylor, how her head, hands, and tattoo were removed and or obliterated, consistent with the document's instructions. Furthermore, an analysis of Heuermann's computers confirms that the document was in an unallocated space and had hence been deleted. If convicted on the current charges, defendant Rex A. Heuermann faces multiple sentences of life without parole. And then it says here that based on the serious, heinous nature of these serial murders and the strength of the people's case, the life incarceration the defendant faces upon conviction, the extreme measures the defendant took to avoid apprehension for over a decade, and defendant's indictment on these additional charges, which now incorporate a 5th and 6th victim, the people remain steadfast that the only means to ensure the defendant's return to court is to remand the defendant without bail. Dated today in Suffolk County, New York. Raymond A. Tierney, District Attorney. So there you have it. That is the disturbing details that came out in this new bail document for Rex Heuermann. I am shook, guys. This is sicker than I could have ever imagined. I really feel like this is going to be, like, in history, probably one of the worst serial killers ever. And all of this stuff documented, and the fact that they are able to dig it up from the 90s, from 94. From 94. He's got Palm Pilots and stuff, so it's nuts. And it's crazy that it is very dark and wicked. Ember Burns shared my link, with your sister. She loves you too, Jay. Thank you for sharing that with your family. And Ember's sister, I promise to never have a stupid countdown. What's up, Frag? Oh, man. So craziness. I am going to wrap this up. Thank you for sticking around for all of these horrific details. But we will continue to follow this sick-ass case. I will see everybody back here, hopefully at 3 o'clock. We're going to be watching all of the Stephen Stearns, Madeline Soto body cam of the search and what went on when Madeline was missing. So hopefully I will see you guys then. We're going to run our credits for Myron, and then we're going to dance it out. And hopefully I'll see you guys later. Have a good couple of hours. Bye, guys. Stay safe. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this live stream or video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on my latest content. Want to take it a step further?
Bring it all in.
And join our community clickers by becoming a Patreon or a YouTube member. You'll get exclusive access to our Discord server, special channel perks, and much more. Until then, I'll see you in the next one.
Click, 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 click. It's real easy, man.
I don't give a damn. I don't really care about you and your problems. I don't give a damn. You talk way too much. I have heard enough about you and your problems. I don't give a damn. 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 You wanna be with me.
La 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 la. You don't hold a count.
Feeling differently. You're making plans to keep
Hold
friends,
up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right.
I ain't got time, I ain't got time, I ain't got time for that.
Don't want
Staying up late, sleeping all day, dreaming about Cadillacs. Buying new shoes, hanging by the pool, sipping on Coke and Jack.
Jennifer loves horses.
Don't want Jennifer or two Jennifers.
Thanks so much, Jennifer.
Bye, Jennifer.